Chris Savina with American Outdoor News. I am here with my friend Luke Clayton, who is probably one of the foremost authorities on hog hunting that I know of. Luke, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Chris. If longevity means anything, well, I may qualify as at least knowledgeable a little bit about hogs because I am 74 now, 74 years old, and I've been hunting hogs since I was 20, probably seriously, so it's been a long time. And I was born up in northeast Texas, up between the Sulphur and the Red River. And I was, of course, to date things, I was born in 1950. So there was a contingency of wild hogs on all the waterways back in those days, but not many. The wild hog boom in Texas started about 40 years ago. And I can tell you how I think all that happened, but now there's hogs everywhere. I live about 30 miles from Dallas and southeast of Dallas between the East Fork River and the Trinity. The East Fork of the Trinity and the Trinity. And there's a 15,000 acre ranch on one side of me and a 2,000 acre wetlands on the other. I live on 4 acres out here. I'm out in the woods behind my house right now. So I can go a half a mile. You and I could go kill a hog tonight or get a shot at one. We'll put it that way. They're everywhere in Texas now. Like I say, I'm 30 miles from Dallas and, but there again, I'm in kind of a hot spot between a 15,000 acre cattle ranch and a 2,000 acre wetland, a strip of woods that run through here. Hog hunting has got to be a big deal in Texas, especially. People unload from back east, and the upper Midwest in the winter. But people have learned it also makes a good summer vacation coming down here to hunt hogs,
I have had the pleasure of coming down to Texas to hunt hogs, and they are everywhere. And I've hunted them many different ways down there, with a bow, from a helicopter, with dogs and a knife. So there's a lot of different ways to hunt them. And I mean, they multiply like, how many litters a year? 2 or 3 a year?
Well, probably not 3, sometimes 2, I think. I've got a lot of buddies that are biologists, and know a lot about the biology of hogs. And the thing is, a gilt is a young sow that hasn't bred yet. But a gilt becomes a sow. They can breed at about 6 months of age.
Wow.
And, as they say, you do the math, they're going to have 6 to 8 piglets every 3 months or so, so their numbers, that's the reason that their numbers are. And a lot of people think that wild hogs are not smart. And that is not the case, they're probably, the biologists tell you that they're probably one of the most intelligent of animals. And Chris, if you've hunted them here in Texas, you know that. And you probably hunted them other places too, but no, a wild hog is an extremely intelligent animal. People say they can't see. Well, they can see, and they can see very well. I'm going to tell you, I think the misinformation there is, think about a hog. Even a big one is going to be low to the ground. They're not tall. They're not tall animals. They're fairly low. They're going to be in some kind of cover. So they're not like a deer that can stick their head up and look.
Mm-hmm.
Way off. Their vision is really, really good. They pick up on movement quick. A test one time, a buddy of mine has a hog hunting ranch in East Texas, and his house is about 500 yards from a pond dam out there. And we had baited that pond dam. We were going to go in by boat that night and shoot them out of the boat. We'd baited corn along that pond dam. And he says, look, Luke, they're already coming out. They came out during the daylight early. And I want to show you something. He said, everybody says hogs are half blind. I want to show you. So he takes had a white T-shirt, and we're 500-600 yards from this pond dam. He takes that thing and starts waving it over his head. Those hogs were gone. I mean, in a flash. So I'm not saying they can see like an eagle, but they can definitely pick up your movement in the woods. So,
Sure.
hogs remember that, you know.
Well, they're not much different than domestic hogs. And domestic hogs, you can, they'll know their name. They'll come when you call them. Smart animals. They're teachable just like any other domestic pet. So translate that into a wild hog, all their senses come to life, so to speak.
Yes, sir. They do. I being old school, and see, to me, I've always looked at hogs as a valuable commodity, a valuable meat source. And that goes back to the way I was raised. I was raised on actually a poultry farm. My dad raised broiler chickens by the thousands when I was a young person. Well, he'd always raise about 10 hogs a year, and we would butcher a couple of them, and then he would sell the rest, to neighbors or whatever for meat. So hogs have always had a concentric value to me. I've always said, hey, these things are valuable. Well, then when there were enough of them to hunt, I was thrilled. Wow, man, I can get my pork out of the woods now. So that was back here when they were real common, say 45 years ago. But I've always had a problem, with the fact that you'll see a trailer load with 20 hogs. Look what we shot last night. Well, I get it. That's eradication, and that you have to thin their numbers. Hunting alone will not do it, Chris. Everybody knows that. The most efficient way to control them is trapping. No question about that. Helicopters, yeah, you can shoot a bunch with helicopters for sure. I've never done that, but you can, but you also can move them around a little bit, right? You're not going to kill them all, but trapping. I've got a buddy that's the Kaufman County where I live, the hog buyer. He's on Facebook, Kaufman County hog buyer, Stephen Waugh. And I had hogs in the front yard every winter. There's a bunch of oaks right in front of where I'm at here. There are tons of oak trees and there were a lot of acorns. We had like 10 to 15 hogs every night out there. Well, I kind of liked it. My neighbors, they thought, whoa, Luke, you got these hogs and we got to get rid of these things. Well, I killed a couple with an big bore air gun right in the woods up here on front of my house. My neighbor, I said, I kind of like having them here. Oh no, Luke, we got to get rid of these hogs. So I called Stephen where I'm going with this. And Stephen, he set up his round pin trap with a cell phone activated trigger, camera, and he watched and he gave me access to it too, so I could watch it on my cell phone. Well, 2 or 3 nights the hogs would come up, they'd circle that. There's an older sow and about 2 sows, younger hogs. They'd circle that pen, but they would not go in. About the 4th night, I wasn't watching my camera, but Stephen was. The sow ran in, and there was both sows, and there was I think there was 15 or 18 hogs in that pen. He hit the button on his cell phone and dropped that hammer. So those hogs, I was thrilled with that. Those hogs go to his holding facility. He has a licensed holding facility by the state. And then about once a week or every 2 weeks, depending on how many hogs he has, a big truck comes by, loads those hogs up, and pays him X number of dollars. He buys them from trappers. 30 cents a pound is the average price.
Wow.
I don't think anybody would get rich doing that, but the trappers enjoy it, and they make some money trapping hogs. So the hogs are put to use, and they wind up in New York on a fancy table restaurant, at a sizable price, for the meal. So.
Sure. And they're organic. There's no steroids, no antibiotics, no growth hormones, nothing.
No, and another misstatement, I think, too, Chris, is, I hear all kind of crazy things about, those hogs, don't eat those things now. They'll kill you. They can come up with all kind of.
They taste better than any hog you'll buy, any piece of pork you'll buy in the store.
Heated up to one. Now, the government said heated up to 145, I think. You heat it. Lean, wild pork would be tough as a boot. And I cook a lot of pork too. wild pork would be very tough if you only heated it to 145. When I get it off of my cooker or whatever I'm cooking, it's more like 210 degrees, real tender. So another interesting thing, Chris, and people do ask me quite often, well, Luke, are those old hogs good to eat? You know, I came up with the perfect answer on that one. I will answer it with the question and say, well, if you were going to go to a livestock auction and buy a hog to eat, what hog would you buy? That answers the question right there. You know,
Yeah.
they're not going to buy an old big rank boar to eat. So, and I get kidded a lot about this because when I go hunting, like I say, I'm out here now. I could show you my cooking area, my little cabin right here by my house, but I love to cook the pork. So a lot of times I will come up with a dish to cook. I don't hunt them every day. I mean, I could every evening, but I'll pick out a dish. Like the last one I shot with a big bore air gun. I think I have an article maybe coming out in American Outdoor News.
You do, as a matter of fact.
That hog, I wanted one to make a big pot of chili, smoked hickory smoked chili. So, I was out there. There was probably one boar that probably pushing 180 pounds, which is a big boar. You hear about 400, 500, 600 pounders, but a big, any wild hog that weighs over 200 pounds is a big one. I passed up big one. I shot a little, gilt young sow that weighed about 65 pounds, Chris, and that made some of the best chili. Smoked it and chopped it up and made chili out of it. So,
nice.
The wild pork is excellent eating, in my opinion.
I agree with you. Now, what is your favorite way to hunt wild hogs?
I'm sorry, Chris.
What is your favorite way to hunt wild hogs? With an air gun or?
I've hunted them with dogs. Guys, I've never owned hunting dogs. I've hunted them about every way you can imagine, excluding helicopter hunting. I've never done that. It's just a whole lot of fun to spot some hogs at night or during the day and get downwind. You've got to get downwind or their nose is so keen.
Yep.
Get downwind and sneak up at night with a thermal. That is so exciting. And you can get within air gun range of them. I've done it a lot. Get within 50 yards, 30 yards downwind and hunt them at night like that.
Yeah,
Kill a bunch of hogs over corn. Because I have two corn feeders. One is back this way about a half a mile, and one's back that direction from where we're at now, about a mile on a buddy's place. And I've killed a lot of them. I devised a easy man's way of hunting. I've got my truck, a 4-wheel drive GMC, an older truck. So I cut a little hole in the brush, and just where I could pull the truck in there from about 50 yards from a corn feeder, right? So I need not say more probably. I've got a chair, set that in there, and I've got some green tea, ice cold green tea sitting there. I'm in there about 30 minutes before dark, and that's almost a dead ringer for a good hog. You get kind of an easy man's way to do it.
So what's it like hunting with an air gun for wild hogs?
So I'm actually hunting editor for it's a small magazine called Air Gun Hobbyist, Chris. I've done that for about 9 years. So I've hunted with a lot of different air guns. They make air guns that are pressure up to 4,500 psi.
Wow.
Yes, you just imagine a tire in your car is going to hold 35 pounds. So just imagine 4,500. And then they make, the one that I like to use is called a Seneca Dragon Claw. I think I maybe showed some pictures of that in the article that I wrote for you.
Yep.
It's a 50 caliber, and I shoot a 336 grain. I would say bullet, but the proper term is pellet. A 336 grain pellet. How about that? And so it'll shoot that hunk of lead, let's call it that, about 700 feet per second, give or take. And that develops, if you do the math, that develops about 330 foot-pounds of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is, 3,000 PSI. And that's all it will pressure. That's plenty. Now that gun, it will shoot that, hard round, hard enough to kill a hog or a deer probably 6 times or maybe more. But there are air guns that pressure to 4,500 that shoot 2 extremely powerful shots that will develop, say, 600 foot-pounds of energy. But I like mine. It'll get the job done. I just would never shoot any animal over about 60 yards is my max. And usually most of the hogs I kill are 50 or a little closer. So, air guns are a lot of fun. As an old outdoor rider, I hunt with a bow and center fire and a muzzle loader and everything. But I really do like I call it play with the hogs with these air guns. They're a lot of fun.
Now, just to put it in perspective so people could have a visual, these pellets, they're slugs. They look like kind of like a shotgun slug.
I've got some over in the truck. I wish I had some to show you. Yeah, they're just, if you can imagine a sabot, we call them sabots down here in Texas, but a sabot, a hunk of lead, 50 caliber that weigh, well, that you can get them on bigger than 336, but that's a pretty good sized chunk of lead. If you can imagine that whistling along about, 700 feet per second. I mean, that's substantial whack when you hit one.
It's very similar to what you're putting inside a muzzleloader.
Yeah, it's not honestly, it's not nearly as powerful as a muzzleloader,
Yeah. But as a visual for this pellet that you're using is similar.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yep.
Now, you co-wrote a book with Larry Rizoon about wild hog hunting.
Yeah, Larry and I, we've been buddies for years. Of course, everybody's a friend with Larry. But we spend a lot of time together. And Larry's been on my radio show, which is a podcast now, Chris, but it's on 40-something different radio stations called Catfish Radio. The podcast, after it airs each week, it becomes a podcast for about 50-minute long podcast. Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. But Larry's been with me almost 17 years, every Saturday.
Wow.
Larry and I just finished recording next week's show earlier this morning. But yeah, the book, Larry's hunted warthogs, and I've never been to Africa and probably never will go, but I've learned a lot about it by having friends like, you guys that have been. But it covers a little of everything. My part of it is more or less nuts and bolts, patterning hogs and different ways to hunt them and things like that. Some recipes in there. I spent some time. Larry wanted me to do the cooking part, so, I wrote some ways of cooking pork and things like that. It's a fun book. It's pretty thick, a lot of information in there. And it's available, if you don't mind, at LarryWeisoon.net. LarryWeisoon.net. You can get it there, or you can get it through catfishradio.org,
Okay.
If you're thinking about hunting hogs, or even if you're an experienced hog hunter, you probably pick up some tips,
As a hunter, it don't matter what you're hunting. Every time out in the field's a learning experience. If you're hunting with somebody new, you'll pick up a new tip from them, or just from observing out in the woods. It's an ever ongoing learning experience. Absolutely, no doubt about that, Chris. But I have so many tales of hunting. 30 years ago, there's a 45,000 acre cow-calf operation in northeast Texas. Well, I still write for a bunch of newspapers, an outdoor column. I was doing the same column back in those days. So the ranch manager it was called the Brosico Ranch, and it was right on White Oak Creek. And I had more adventures with the two guys, Damon Hodges and Wade Cobb was their names. And the only way you can describe these guys were salty. These dudes were
I mean, they were all about hunting with hogs, dogs, and horseback. But I was back on the Brosico one time, Chris, probably 10 miles from the nearest road. I mean, 45,000 acres, and we were up on the north end of it on horseback. And,
Wow.
had the dogs out there, the strike dogs were going. I think I was leading the dogo, which is a catch dog. I had one of those on the long leash, following the horse. Anyway, I thought, I don't know, I'm no surveyor, so I kind of know where I'm at a lot of the time. I asked, Damon, we pulled up, taking a breather, giving the horses some water, I think. I said, Damon, have you ever been right here? And this was back in the middle of, he said, no, don't think I have. I said, I didn't bring a compass. I don't know where in the heck I'm at. I can see the sun. I know we got to go east to get out to civilization. He said, I'll tell you how we navigate. He said, just be real quiet. Yeah, I'm sitting on it. And I said, okay. He said, you hear that trucks way off in the distance? That was Interstate 30. He said, regardless if we head toward those trucks, we eventually come out of here.
There you go.
Wild country, boy.
Now, you have a show also with Larry, A Sportsman's Life.
Yes, sir. We do that. That's fun. Jeff Rice is a good videographer. He's been my friend for a long time. Jeff has a little ranch up in East Texas. He give you an idea, on probably 60 acres. He has 11 corn feeders going all the time.
Wow.
He gets in a remote area. Hogs, there are so many hogs. So Jeff Rice and I were doing a little show called A Sportsman's Life. This was like 5-6 years ago, 6 years maybe. And Larry come down to hunt with us. And of course, Larry's been on TV shows. He knows a whole lot about videography and all that. And, he said, why don't I join you guys out? And let's call it the three of us. I said, that's great. No, Jeff, he was all excited about that, So Larry's been with us about 5 or 6 years, and he's brought a lot of knowledge. Jeff just loves videography, and he's pretty good at it, really good. And he's learned a lot too in those years. But it's called A Sportsman's Life. It's on YouTube. Not so many people watch it on YouTube. Every week there's a new one. But Carbon TV, there's a lot of people that watch it on Carbon TV, and of course, my podcast for the radio show is also on Carbon TV.
Well, you definitely made a big contribution to the outdoor industry in a lot of different venues with your writing, with your shows, with your radio show and whatnot. And we definitely appreciate that, because we need the information out there. And it's people like yourself that help the next generation learn.
That's true, because, in reality, I'm blessed to be at my age. I'm still healthy, and I can climb up in a tree. I'll do all this stuff a lot slower than I did 20 years ago, but
We
I
all
can
do.
climb up in a deer stand, and but how long are you going to do that? It's not too difficult to add 10 to 74. So, well, the good Lord willing, maybe I'll still be doing it, but you're right. Through osmosis, if nothing else, I've learned a world of things about the outdoors, a world of information. Anybody would. So that's done it all their life. So I try to share information with not only younger people, but I've had a lot of buddies that, I've worked with in the past and in their 30s, 40s, 50s that never hunted, and say, hey, come out here and let's try this, and they enjoy it, and they become a hunter. They're hooked,
It only takes one time.
Yes, that's the truth, isn't it, Chris?
It is. All right. Well, Luke, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today and share all this great information about hog hunting. I love hog hunting, and I know a lot of the people out there do. It's not a very expensive endeavor
Nope.
compared to other hunts. And I definitely encourage people to come out and give it a shot,
And one of these times when we get you down here, if we could just, all it takes is a week or so of planning. I'd like to get you out here and get with us. How about that?
That works for me. I love hog hunting. I love hunting Texas. It's like a buffet. You can hunt anything in Texas.
Well, Chris, thank you very much, sir, for allowing me to be on your show.
I appreciate you taking the time and everything that you've done for me. It don't go unrecognized. Trust me, my friend. All right. Thanks again. And where can we find you now?
Okay. All right. We will go to catfishradio.org. Is a good spot to track me down.
Okay. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
And